He's looking for diamonds in the rough. With Lee Cowan, meet American picker Mike Wolfe.
Every long-running TV show has its fair share of ups and downs, and American Pickers is no exception. With over a decade of treasure-hunting road trips across America's forgotten barns and backyards, the show has built a massive following and a reputation for uncovering hidden gems. But while the antiques in history have taken center stage, the real story has often unfolded behind the scenes. Fans have noticed changes, controversies, and even heartbreak that have shaped not just the show's trajectory, but also the lives of its cast members. Over the years, dynamics shifted, relationships frayed, and beloved personalities disappeared from the screen. These off-camera events have stirred curiosity, fueled online speculation, and left many wondering what really went down. While the show continues to evolve, its past is a tapestry of friendships, fallouts, and difficult decisions. So today, we are taking a deep dive into those pivotal moments and people that challenged the spirit of the show and tested the patience and heart of Mike Wolfe himself. Frank Fritz wasn't just a co-host on American Pickers, he was part of its beating heart. Long before the cameras rolled, he and Mike Wolfe had a bond forged by years of real friendship and shared passion for forgotten Americana. When the show hit screens, fans immediately connected with the dynamic between Mike's enthusiastic storytelling and Frank's dry wit and grounded personality. It was authentic and unfiltered, and it worked because they worked. But somewhere along the road, the chemistry started to fizzle. By 2020, viewers noticed something strange: Frank was gone. The official reason was back surgery, but loyal fans sensed there was more to the story. And they were right. Rumors swirled, whispers of alcoholism, personal demons, and a falling out with Mike began surfacing. Then came Frank's own words, raw interviews where he expressed pain and disappointment. He claimed Mike hadn't contacted him in years. The silence spoke volumes. Mike, for his part, stayed mostly quiet. That silence only fueled the speculation. People were torn. Was Mike trying to protect Frank's privacy, or was he simply distancing himself? The once close duo now felt worlds apart, and fans were left in emotional limbo, watching a beloved friendship seemingly unravel in real time. Then came the devastating news. In 2022, Frank suffered a massive stroke. It was a chilling moment, not just for those who knew him personally, but for millions who had grown up watching his adventures. Mike finally broke his silence, sharing a heartfelt post that revealed the two had reconnected. It was bittersweet because while there had been healing, the clock was ticking. In 2024, the final heartbreak came. Frank Fritz passed away, and suddenly all the drama, the silence, the distance, it fell away. Mike's tribute was gut-wrenching. He talked about the deep sorrow he felt, the memories they shared, and the weight of unspoken words. It was clear that no matter what had come between them, the love and history remained. This story isn't just about a TV show losing a co-host. It's about how friendships can fracture under the weight of fame, personal battles, and time. Frank's absence changed the tone of American Pickers. It changed Mike, and it left a hole that no new face could ever truly fill. For fans, Frank's story is a reminder that behind the antiques and the road trips were real people with real struggles. His journey, his rise, his fall, and the emotional goodbye are etched into the show's legacy forever. Behind the camera of American Pickers, there's been a power struggle brewing for years, one that fans never fully saw but often felt. While Mike Wolfe has always pushed for authenticity, there's been a noticeable shift in tone over time, and it hasn't gone unnoticed. What started as a show about genuine finds and real stories slowly began to feel a bit too polished, a bit too convenient. And when longtime viewers pick up on that, there's usually a reason behind it. Mike built his name on being a true picker, digging through barns, striking up spontaneous conversations, and uncovering pieces of forgotten history. But television isn't just about passion, it's a business. And when a show becomes a hit, networks take notice. Ratings mean revenue, and revenue means control. That's where things start to get complicated. Reports suggest that as American Pickers gained traction, producers and network execs began tightening their grip. Scenes became more curated, interactions felt rehearsed, and the raw edge that fans once loved began to blur. There's been quiet chatter for years, rumors that Mike clashed with producers over the show's creative direction. He reportedly pushed back against efforts to script interactions or steer the series toward something more artificial. And while those conflicts never played out in public, the consequences may have been written into the show's evolution itself. Staff turnover behind the scenes, changes in tone, and a sense that something was just off. When Frank Fritz left the series, speculation only intensified. Some fans believed the producers were reshaping the cast, trying to modernize the show, or bringing in fresh faces that better fit a specific demographic mold. That left Mike in a strange position, stuck between loyalty to the show's roots and the pressure to adapt to network demands. Was he still calling the shots, or was he being subtly overruled? The departure of Frank didn't just change the lineup, it changed the energy. Without that original dynamic, the show leaned harder on structure and production polish. What once felt spontaneous now felt strategic. Even Mike's on-screen demeanor seemed more cautious, more calculated, as if he was towing a line he hadn't drawn himself. And that's where things get really interesting because no one involved has ever called anyone out directly. There has been no public finger-pointing or explosive interviews. But the tension is there, between the lines, between episodes, between what American Pickers was and what it has become. The production team has always played a huge role in shaping the series. But when creative tension builds behind the scenes, it doesn't stay hidden for long. It leaks into the pacing, the dialogue, and the choices made in editing rooms. It leaves a mark. For Mike, navigating that space, protecting the heart of the show while negotiating with those who fund and distribute it, may have been one of the hardest parts of the journey. The result is a series that still carries pieces of its soul but also bears the weight of compromise. Danielle Colby has been one of the most recognizable faces on American Pickers from the very beginning. With her bold tattoos, quick comebacks, and sharp eye for business, she brought a totally different energy to the show, balancing out the road trips with some grit and flair from back at Antique Archaeology. She wasn't just the person holding down the shop. She became a fan favorite, the kind of cast member who carved out her own lane without ever hitting the road for the actual picks. But her journey through the spotlight hasn't exactly been smooth. Over the years, as Danielle's screen time started to wane, the internet did what it does best, speculate. Fans noticed she was appearing less and less, and the theories started rolling in. Some insisted she was on her way out. Others claimed she was feuding with Mike Wolfe. And then there were those who, without any evidence, accused her of playing a role in Frank's departure, completely unfounded but loud nonetheless, the kind of rumors that gain momentum fast in fan circles. Danielle eventually addressed the noise through social media. She reassured viewers that she remained close with Mike and still had love for the show. But she was also honest. She talked about her desire to explore other creative paths. She wasn't just a TV personality. She was deep into the world of burlesque, art, fashion, and even documentary filmmaking. That level of honesty, wanting more while still staying loyal, hit a chord. It didn't confirm any drama, but it didn't deny the complexities either. Being in the public eye for that long means constantly walking a tightrope. Danielle's style, confidence, and voice made her a standout, but they also made her a target. Online criticism would often paint her as too outspoken or suggest that she was somehow taking over the show, especially after Frank's absence. Some fans didn't like the idea of the show shifting in any direction, and she became an easy scapegoat for changes that were almost certainly out of her control. Yet through it all, Danielle kept showing up, not just on screen but in her support for Mike, her commitment to the brand, and her presence as one of the original pillars of American Pickers. She's never pretended to be something she's not. She's been open about her passions, her evolution, and her desire to grow beyond just one role. That's not betrayal. That's maturity. And in the often turbulent world of reality TV, it's actually rare to see someone navigate that with as much transparency. Danielle's story isn't about scandal or fallout. It's about staying grounded while everything around her changed, cast dynamics, fan expectations, and even the tone of the show itself. While she's clearly carved out her own identity outside of American Pickers, her loyalty to Mike and the brand has remained consistent. She didn't take sides during tense times. She didn't stir the pot. She simply adapted and, in the process, reminded viewers that longevity in the spotlight doesn't mean staying still. Her presence continues to resonate because it's real. She's not there to fit a mold, and she's never tried to. And in a show that's always been about authenticity, that's exactly the kind of character who keeps things interesting, even when the road gets bumpy. When American Pickers lost Frank Fritz, it wasn't just the departure of a familiar face. It was the unraveling of a dynamic that defined the show for over a decade. Replacing someone like Frank was never going to be easy, and the decision to bring in new personalities sparked a wave of reactions that the show is still navigating today. Robbie Wolfe, Mike's brother, was the most noticeable shift. While Robbie had popped up in earlier seasons here and there, his role expanded significantly once Frank was gone. That sudden bump in screen time drew criticism. And not all of it was subtle. Fans started throwing around the word nepotism, accusing the show of leaning into a family-first approach instead of looking for someone with the natural chemistry that Frank brought. It didn't help that Robbie's style on screen was more laid-back and less quirky, and some would say lacking the unique spark that once defined the duo's banter. While he was clearly comfortable around Mike, the dynamic didn't quite have the edge that kept fans coming back for years. Then came Jersey John, a picker with a solid reputation and deep knowledge of vintage motorcycles and Americana. On paper, he was a great fit. But television isn't just about expertise. It's about chemistry. And that's where things got tricky. John's calm demeanor and methodical style clashed at times with the fast-paced energy the show was known for. Fans were divided. Some appreciated the slower, more technical conversations, while others felt the back-and-forth with Mike lacked rhythm. More than a few viewers commented that the interactions felt scripted or overly polished, like the spontaneity was gone. The online response to these changes became a story of its own. Some longtime viewers decided to move on entirely, claiming the soul of the show had faded. Others stuck with it, willing to give the new format a chance, even if it felt different. Social media threads, Reddit posts, and fan forums lit up with debates, some defending the new cast, others grieving what the show used to be. What became clear was that the emotional investment fans had in the original lineup wasn't going to be easily transferred to anyone else. It's not that any of the new cast members did anything wrong. They weren't involved in controversy, scandal, or conflict. But stepping into the shoes of a fan favorite like Frank was always going to be more than just a casting decision. It was a balancing act between preserving legacy and moving forward. And for a show rooted in authenticity, even small shifts in energy or tone can feel like major changes to a loyal audience. The transition period showed just how delicate the ecosystem of American pickers really was. Chemistry couldn't be manufactured, and emotional connection couldn't be forced. Even with familiar faces like Robbie or knowledgeable ones like John, the magic formula that once pulled in millions wasn't easily replicated. And while the show has continued to evolve, the fan divide serves as a reminder: replacing a beloved personality isn't just about filling a seat. It's about preserving a feeling. And that's where the challenge really lies. In the world of American pickers, most of the drama fans talk about happens on screen, or at least between the show's visible cast. But over time, one of the most damaging forces surrounding the series hasn't come from producers, castmates, or even internal creative tensions. It's come from outside the show entirely: the relentless weight of public backlash and online toxicity. As the show's popularity skyrocketed, so did the scrutiny. And when Frank Fritz suddenly disappeared from the screen, that scrutiny turned into a full-on storm. With no clear explanation at first, and only vague mentions of health issues, fans immediately began speculating. The internet filled in the blanks with its own narratives, and Mike Wolfe found himself right in the crosshairs. People labeled him as disloyal, cold, and even manipulative. The fact that he hadn't made a public statement right away only fueled the fire. But what many didn't consider was the emotional complexity behind the silence. Mike and Frank weren't just co-stars. They were longtime friends. Their falling out, whatever the cause, was likely painful and personal. When Mike finally opened up, especially after Frank's debilitating stroke and later passing, his grief was unmistakable. He wasn't trying to save face. He was speaking from a place of real sorrow, regret, and emotional weight. The loss hit hard, and the backlash had clearly taken a toll. Mike's relationship with the audience changed after that. He began to speak more openly in interviews and online posts about how fame isn't as glamorous as people think. It comes with an expectation to constantly deliver, constantly smile, and never misstep. The moment anything shifts, whether it's a casting change, a production tweak, or a delayed response, people online are ready to pounce. Some fans even accused him of replacing Frank with his brother Robbie out of convenience or nepotism, not understanding the full context of the decision. And the comments didn't stop there. Every episode became a battleground in fan forums. Minor moments were dissected, facial expressions were turned into evidence. For Mike, a guy who built his career on passion and storytelling, the constant judgment became exhausting. He once acknowledged that staying creative under that kind of microscope is incredibly hard. That it's not just about picking antiques anymore. It's about navigating a world where everyone has an opinion and not all of them are kind. This kind of toxic fan culture is rarely talked about, but it plays a powerful role in shaping a public figure's experience. It affects morale, creativity, and personal well-being. The pressure to live up to nostalgia, to be both entertainer and perfect human, can be crushing. And while these online voices aren't traditional coworkers, they become an ever-present force in the room. Louder than producers, more persistent than ratings, and far more personal. Mike has stayed the course, continuing the show, evolving through personal loss, cast transitions, and public judgment. But the unseen pressure, the weight of expectations from people he's never met, remains one of the toughest parts of the job. Because in the end, it's not just about antiques or television. It's about holding on to your sense of self when the world won't stop picking you apart. Mike Wolfe has carried far more than what viewers see on screen. He's not just the face of American pickers. He's the one quietly holding the weight of everything behind it. From managing antique archaeology to shaping the tone of the show and navigating the fallout from cast departures, he's had to make calls that weren't always popular but were necessary to keep things going. When Frank left the show, the spotlight immediately turned to Mike. Fans wanted answers. Emotions ran high and speculation exploded online. But while many were quick to judge, very few understood the complexity of what he was dealing with. Running a long-standing TV show that millions tune into isn't just about antiques. It's about people, contracts, networks, and constant pressure to evolve while staying true to what made the show work in the first place. Through all the shifts, Frank's absence, new cast dynamics, and changes in format, Mike kept pushing forward. He took the heat for decisions that may not have been his alone, all while still showing up to dig through barns, meet collectors, and tell stories with heart. Interviews over the years have given small glimpses into how much he's carried emotionally. He's admitted it's been tough, that he's made mistakes, and that balancing friendships, business demands, and public opinion hasn't been easy. What's clear is that Mike never set out to be the villain of anyone's story. He's been navigating a whirlwind of change, some of it painful and deeply personal. And while fans have every right to feel connected and protective over the show they love, the real story isn't about betrayal or ego. It's about a man trying to steer something meaningful through one of its most difficult chapters. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the real-life drama and evolution of American Pickers, don't forget to like this video. Drop a comment with your favorite moment or theory. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more behind-the-scenes stories, cast updates, and TV nostalgia. Hit the bell so you never miss an update, and let us know in the comments. Who do you miss the most on American Pickers? Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.